What's happening? I love how this thing delays and you don't even know if you're live yet. But it looks like we're live. Hey, what's up, everybody? Wow, it's been a long time since I've done a live. This is awesome. We are going to get Dr. Will on here as soon as I see him pop up. Let me see. Yeah, stoked to see everybody. Well, I mean, I don't see you, but I see you coming on. And man, look at everybody jumping in. Excited. I've been on a journey. Many of you probably know. Just got back from Australia. What's up? Let's see. Dr. Will, if you just request whenever you need to. View requests. Here we go. Here we go with the gut doctor. Hey.
Hello.
What's up, man?
Hey, man. How are you? It's great to see you. Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does it feel good to be back in the States?
There's a lot of emotion around it, actually.
Right.
Of course, it feels good to be back and on the property and with my dog and out in nature, but extraordinary country, amazing experiences. There was a lot of freedom in Australia, I have to say. There was,
Wow.
So from that perspective, it was pretty refreshing
Yeah.
from a world view to be able to just experience life as it should be experienced with our sovereignty back. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be an interesting time, and many people are predicting that it's going to be like the roaring 20s once we can get past this pandemic because we've been so bottled up. And so it's I'm glad that you had a good time though.
yeah, let's bring back let's bring that music, the fun,
The dancing.
the the dancing,
Yeah.
the
The
just
flappy
shaking.
dresses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, listen, that's actually a perfect segue because it's about, what is the number one sovereignty that we do have control over, and that is our health. Um, and if we don't take control, then the convenience or the fatal convenience of uh, foods and bad lifestyle will create the trajectory that will line us up for debilitation down the line, and we won't have the freedom to be able to dance when we want, to even sing when we want, and to do anything that we really want. And I think that's, for me, that's my foundation. Like, that's in my internal clock. Is health for me is about options and being able to respond in all ways to life, not just I just want to be healthy. Like, yeah, but what does that look like? What does that mean? What is that? If you have health, what does that actually then create for you?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that, to me, that's our number one sovereignty. So
Yeah.
we have so much control over that. And I just want people to get to know you more, get to know your work. We did a great podcast. People are freaking out and loving it. So thank you for that. Thank you for your contribution there. So any of you who haven't checked out the deeper dive, is we just launched Dr. Will's podcast that we did. I had a great time. So why don't, for any of you, for all little tiny snippet, who you are, and what you're charging on.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. By the way, I was just on the phone with Dan Buettner literally 3 minutes ago, and he
Nice.
wanted me to say, hey, and you guys are both Minnesota boys,
We are
so which is pretty cool.
we are definitely Minnesota boys. Yeah, I got to get back in touch with him. It's been a couple of years. So yeah, we went to the same university, except he was
Is
a
that right?
decade. Yeah, he was a decade ahead of me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So they breed adventurers in the state of Minnesota, apparently, right?
Well, only a few. The few
Yeah.
of us that are so tweaked and our brains haven't completely frozen, we've then figured out a way out for sure.
You're like, we got to get out of here, and then you just never stop. You just keep going, and you keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Will Bulsiewicz. I am a gastroenterologist. I work full time. I was seeing patients literally today in the clinic. I'm on call right now. I'm also an author. I wrote a book called Fiber Fueled, which came out May of last year. Thanks. Appreciate that. My book came out May of last year. It's sold 130,000 copies so far. I'm very proud of it. It was a New York Times bestseller. And then obviously I have this Instagram account, the Gut Health MD, which is closing in on 300,000 followers. So what am I about? Darren, when you talk about sovereignty, just to kind of unpack that, because I think that that's a powerful way to come at this. You're talking about restrictions. You're talking about the ability to live the way that you want to live and to not feel like something is encroaching on that. And it's easy to look at life right now in this pandemic and see that we are restricted. We are inherently restricted by this pandemic. Health is when your biological processes, your functions are imposing restrictions on you. And that's really what I think you mean when you talk about sovereignty. And so, I take care of people who have digestive issues. And it's so easy to take for granted digestion. It's so easy to sit there and say, oh man, it's great. I can eat whatever I want and I feel fine. And imagine being the person who, I literally had someone in my clinic today who's like, doctor, I'm eating dry toast and egg whites and that's it, right? Imagine being in that place and you can't tolerate your food. So I'm here as a gastroenterologist and as an author, as a person, frankly, who wants to apply my skills and my education to try to help people and to show them a path where they can live with abundance, where they can live without restrictions and thrive and have the life that they feel that they deserve. And so that's what I'm trying to do with my book. Is to swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. For the last 15, 20 years, what we've been told is that if something gives you a little bit of gas, you should cut it out and get rid of it. And that's how we end up with a diet that's literally just dry bread and egg whites. And I'm here to tell you that if we're smart about this and we understand exactly the way that our body functions, our physiology, our biology, if we understand this, then that we will be empowered with the ability to bring those foods back into our life, to strengthen our systems, to restore function, and to be able to thrive on the foods that we don't think we're actually capable of eating. And so that's really what I'm about, is getting people back to eating plants in abundance, in diversity, all the colors, all the flavors, the exotic stuff, and also just the regular stuff, because we're just not even doing that.
I mean, it's such a important topic, and people underestimate that kind of law of health, the diversification. And right, we've talked about this on the podcast, and the diversification of the fibers and the healing power of that. And the modern day world has created a cylinder of just us eating a certain amount of foods and getting kind of habitually into eating what we eat. And what would you say is, because even though I eat, all plants and tons of stuff, you can definitely go, sometimes I have to step in and go, hey, eat all these other things too. Talk, like open that up a little more in terms of how important, not to mention the micronutrients, the polyphenols, the antioxidants, all of that stuff, and the fibers. Open that up a little bit and describe a little bit how important the diversification is to someone's health.
So people, we love the concept. I mean, I think we talked about this on the show, and you yourself have brought to the American public superfoods from the Amazon. right? And so we love the idea of superfoods. And trust me, I'm not against superfoods. Like I love Barucha nuts. I love them. All right. And that is not a paid ad. I just love them. I think they're great. But I think it's important for people to understand that you take like kale. Kale, it's a superfood, highly nutritious, has a ton of good stuff, but it has its strengths and it has its weaknesses. There are certain nutrients that you're not going to get from kale, and there's certain nutrients that kale is like more than able to rise to the challenge and provide for you. And if you were to eat kale literally all day long and nothing else, you would not be very healthy, because that is not a healthy diet, because you would be over consuming just those specific nutrients and you would be missing out on the stuff that kale does not provide. When we talk about diversity of plants, I'll get to the microbiome in a moment, but before I go there, I just want to say that every single food has strengths, has weaknesses. Vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, phytochemicals, every single color is representative of specific phytochemicals which have healing effects in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people say eat the rainbow, they're basically saying what I'm saying here, which is that every single food is bringing those unique characteristics to your body in an attempt to heal you, to nourish you. And when we combine them, when we eat in diversity as opposed to just specific foods, we get the best out of all of them, and you erase the weaknesses, because the weakness of one food is the strength of another.
Right.
And so it's like diversifying your portfolio, right? I have Bitcoin and I have Ethereum.
Right.
And when we bought Bitcoin and Ethereum, my wife was so pissed at me because it dropped like $20,000 the next day. All right. And so she was so pissed. And now my wife is kind of loving me because Ethereum is smashing it.
Right.
But Bitcoin might come back tomorrow. So we want that diversity, because diversity is a measure of balance. Diversity is resilient. And when I say these types of things, diversity is balance, diversity is resilient. Yes, I'm talking about food. I'm also talking about your microbiome. And I'm frankly talking about our globe, our planet, and the ecosystems within that planet. Diversity is the measure of resilience, of balance, of harmony within each individual ecosystem. Our gut microbiome living inside of us, weighing as much as our brain, is an ecosystem. It contains 39 trillion microbes living in harmony and in balance. Their preferred food comes from plants. Their preferred food is fiber, and they love polyphenols too, by the way. And so when we eat a wide variety of plants, we are feeding as many different species of microbes as possible. A diverse diet, meaning diversity of plants, translates into a diverse microbiome, which translates into a balanced, robust, resilient microbiome that is ready to take on any challenges that you have.
I mean, I like that, because as within, so without, right? And so as we cultivate and support a forest within us, it's the same thing that we need to do in the world of growing food, right? So the diversification of plants create the mycelium networks, the topsoil resiliency, the microbes within the soil, like all of that is the same thing. And as soon as we reduce, we create infinite problems, some of unknown nature,
right,
upon that expression, right?
Right. Right.
And so I love that. And if people really kind of understand that this principle that we're talking about is literally a nature principle, number one. Number two, it is something that we need to apply, period, throughout our life. So let's just make that as a exclamation point, like just from literally, diversify your investments like right now, because clearly the fiat world is crazy. right now. You can't just print money. So the same with eating. You're just eating your favorite comfort foods. You are creating a monocultural situation, only feeding certain bacteria, leaving you way susceptible to life,
Right.
period. And any updates or upgrades that come by way of microbes, other viruses that we're interacting with every day, all day, through our skin, through our eyes, our ears, our touches, our dogs, our water, our soil, our food. But that's a certain important aspect that you brought up and shared, in that it is so important. That's nature at its core. So diversification of these, eat your colored plants, have so many layers and levels to it, not to mention the uptake, the upregulation, the ability for conversion of nutrients from the microbiome that you've supported. Like, we literally, and I love that visual, because if anyone catch that, the visual of how many microbes is as big as my freaking brain.
Right.
And the DNA far outweighs the amount of cell DNA, human DNA that we have.
Yeah.
Then you realize, oh, this is a symbiotic relationship that is so important to life, that is the core foundation for life.
Right.
So, I mean, we distill it down to, you wrote an amazing book, and Focus, which I love, and you and I both celebrate, and many others in this world, like, not focusing on proteins. Protein comes because it's already in the food. It's already in whole plant-based food.
Right.
You don't even have to go out of your way to consume it.
I literally don't even think about it at all. Like, at all.
Me too. And you work out, I work out. I've been doing this shit for 17 years. I just eat more. Like, if my body needs more calories, I just eat more of it.
Then you eat it.
Yeah. And so that reductionism causes us problems, right?
Right.
So, man, I just love this, and I hope this makes sense to people, to be able to take ownership of that, because again, that's the other side, or the important aspect of sovereignty, right? That we're saying things about sovereignty, but the thing that people have to do first is make that choice. Like, I have to take responsibility, right? Take responsibility and then make a choice.
Right.
Once you're aware, now that's on you.
Right.
So now we're giving you information, and now for you to have actual sovereignty of health, you have to actually take it on, and no pill, no doctor is going to do that for you. We have to, I don't know if anyone's doing that anymore. I don't live in that world at all. My friends don't, but there's a massive amount of people that just go about their day eating whatever they want without a conscious kind of relationship with, like, you had a stat on your website that was so cool. It was like, what was it, like, in a lifetime we have 80,000 pounds that we're consuming.
Yeah.
And so you can, like, look that at a plate, like, maybe that's a pound of food.
Yeah.
Like, that is creating me. That is creating my outlook. That is creating my resiliency. That's creating my life.
Right.
That's creating my health.
Right.
What is that pound that I'm eating right now?
Yeah, and there's like an atomic code to it. I mean, not to get too, like, philosophical here.
Please,
so
get there.
But there is, though. I mean, there's a code of nature, right? The same microbes that exist within our colon live on an apple.
Yeah.
Help that apple to mature from flower to fruit.
Yeah.
And then you consume that apple, and it passes down and it mixes with your microbes, And there's an interplay, an exchange that takes place, this microbial exchange that takes place between the food that you made the choice. I'm going to bite into this apple and I'm going to send that down the chute. And nature is doing so much more for you. But, but basically like that's what it is, Darren, is that our food and our food choices, we have the freedom, we have the right to make those choices. But the choices that you make blast out in a shotgun effect throughout your body, starting with the interplay between your food choices and your gut microbes. And then your gut microbes, basically, they're like a chemical factory. They take those food choices, they explode them up, and you can get all the good stuff from them, or you can be punished with the toxic stuff.
Yeah.
And it's your choice, because basically it's going to happen one way or the other.
Yeah, food is information. And if we start to understand that more, it's not just food. It's like coded with all of this incredible information from chemically, biologically, structurally, you name it. Hey, so
and food, real quick, I apologize.
Yeah,
but Darren, food and human consumption of food, recognizing that there are 8 billion people on this planet right now, right? So the fact that there are 8 billion people who are going to consume 80,000 pounds of food during their lifetime, start doing the math on that. 8 billion times 80,000. Think of how many pounds of food we need to provide for the people that live on this planet right now.
Yeah.
Those food choices that the masses make, those food choices are more than just affecting them. Those food choices are affecting everything around us, right? The entire ecosystem. And I was so proud and excited when I heard 2 days ago that 11 Madison Park, which is one of the most famous restaurants in the world, like arguably the #1 restaurant in New York City.
Saw that, yeah.
Whose most famous dish was some sort of duck dish. All right, they're known for this dish. Coming out of the pandemic is going completely vegan. What was the reason that they gave? It's not for your health. That's not the reason. It's sustainability. They don't believe that our current dietary patterns are sustainable because we're going from 8 billion people up to 11 billion people. We're already deforesting. We're already using up too much land to feed 8 billion people. And I applaud them. Here's why. Because at the end of the day, Darren, leaders take risks when it's the right thing to do. This is a 5-star restaurant, one of the best in the world, and they're not afraid to go plant-based and take a risk because they know it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, I love that. And that is so true. And you need to find your line in the sand, right? And make that stamp. And just to piggyback on that, I've been looking at systems for a while, and food systems largely, you can break that apart in many different ways, because nothing is so everything. The more I learn, the more I realize it's infinitely more complex. But largely, we can say this: food waste is a really, really big problem. Our systems of getting wasted food to people is virtually not there. We could feed 10 billion people today if we actually did not waste the food that was created. So that's an important aspect. Now, you can break that apart also in quality of food, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the quality of food in monocropping, factory farming, well, now if you just took our first conversation and laid it over what that is, that is an unhealthy system for you consuming, but it's also an unhealthy system for our environment and for animal welfare, and all of that completely unsustainable. And the metanomics of any monocropping is just infinitely failed, which is why it's subsidized.
Right.
So that is a that is a Pandora's box, but it's important to highlight. But the most important thing, I think, what will drive all of this stuff, and that is the conscious consumerism of saying no to the poor quality food choices. I'm not going to make those choices anymore. I'm going to make choices that are better for my health. And this is also shifting the idea that volume food is what I need to choose if I don't have the money. So like a bag of Doritos versus an apple.
Right.
You're infinitely getting more nutrients from that apple than you are getting the challenges that come by eating Doritos. But so
this is part of our problem when you say that this is complicated, right? Because Darren, the one of the challenges from my perspective is that there are people who will say that it is how privileged are you and I,
yeah,
to say that we need to eat this way when many people can't afford to do that, right?
100%.
And I feel like it's not that I reject that statement against me. I accept that statement against me, but what I want to do is unpack it, because it's food choices that are healthy should not be a privilege for the wealthy few. This is education. We need to start with step one. What is the ideal diet? Let's identify that. Well, we've done that. We have thousands of studies to identify that a predominantly plant-based diet of some variety, a predominantly plant-based diet is the healthiest diet that exists, okay? So let's not allow people to make the argument that it's inappropriate to argue in favor of plant-based because it's expensive.
Right.
Let's instead say the system is broken because we're making the healthiest diet inaccessible to some people. How do we make this more accessible to these people? And we need to fight for that. I'm here to push for that. And so part of that is education. Well, for example, a quick example, you can grow broccoli sprouts in your kitchen.
Yeah.
All right. And I can take a half of a cup of lentils that are organic. And in 3 days, with 5 minutes of effort per day, I will have 4 cups of lentils. And that probably costs me 30 cents.
Right.
Organic lentils, 4 cups, it feeds me, and I'm a 200-pound guy, right? So there's ways that it can be done. But the second thing is, I think it's inappropriate that our government is subsidizing unhealthy food because it is a way of punishing the people who don't have the money or the education to understand that inexpensive sugar, inexpensive meat, inexpensive soy products is hurting them in the long run.
Right. Man, this is like podcast 2.0 at this point. But these are really important topics, and one that I chew on quite a bit, and some of which we inevitably, I'm not going to name exactly, inevitably started getting into the second season of Down to Earth. We, like, the Pandora's Box starts opening on its own, and you're like, okay,
here we go.
Yep. But listen, absolutely, like, even from the 70s, 30% of our food that we were consuming here in America, we were growing. 60s, 70s, like, we were growing in our backyard. I was growing vegetables and eating them from what my mom created. So we can, to your point, we can start growing powerful foods. I mean, you talk about broccoli sprouts being one of the most powerful anti-cancer, sulforaphane, and all of these things that you can literally do for cents. To make an extraordinary sprout lentils and beans and soak them, and like hell. So there are options, but to your point, we have allowed big business to conveniently push foods in the faces of people that don't seem to have the same options. And that is a freaking crime. And so we need to vote better with every dollar we spend towards every company. And if they're not acting accordingly, we need to find solutions. We need to change this. We need to push back. And I do know that the numbers will dictate corporations. The numbers of us doing different choices, other choices will dictate, because it is absolutely happening. I've been talking to some really big companies, and the writing is on the wall, and they're sprinting towards changes because they see where the customers are going. The next generation, the next generations underneath us, they're demanding transparency of food.
100%.
Demanding it. So, you know, there's a lot. I think it's systems failures that got us in this problem. And so we need to push back and create new systems. But
our government is not going to do it for us. That's the problem. Our government. So if you sit there and you wait for your government to do it for you, I hate to say it, but they're not. And so at the end of the day, we have to, as individuals, collectively step up and make choices on an individual basis, because when we as individuals make choices that are in alignment with our values, the collective power is off the charts. And our government, it doesn't matter what they say if we as individuals make those choices, right? So, but the problem is, Darren, is that it starts with individual responsibility. If you're not willing to do it, then we're never going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've heard people where I say to them, they're chopping down the Amazon rainforest. They're hacking down the Amazon rainforest. You can literally see it from a satellite. You can see the fires burning. Right? This is a rainforest. Like, those are not forest fires. That's man-made.
Yeah.
That's man-made to clear land for animal agriculture, whether it's the soy fields or for the livestock. And so I'll say to people, like, doesn't that bother you? And they're like, oh yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible. I go, but you're eating beef.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but I buy American made. Come on. Like, come on. This is the #1 exporter of beef on the planet. It is a global supply and demand. Don't ask someone else to fix your problems for you. You got to fix the problems in your own house first. That's what I say.
Yeah. I mean,
not to call anyone out.
No. I mean, you expand upon that also from the Seaspiracy. I assume you saw that documentary on the. I mean, it's a shame that we have to have documentaries that reveal this stuff. It's a shame that mainstream media, governments don't take this on. Think about, and I'm not going to open up this Pandora's box in terms of the pandemic, but think about all of when everyone comes together and wants to take a shift, they make a shift. Now, agree with them or not, I always say I'm with you. It's going to take us and our tribes and us creating new businesses, capitalism done the right way.
Right.
I have many ideas on that. I've traveled around the world. I really have a good understanding of how that can thrive and protect and preserve. But it's like, it's, I mean, these are massive. I just love this conversation because these are in the hands of us.
Right.
And it is you and I, and then a couple other people listening to this, resonating with it, and then them talking about it, and them coming together, and it's us finding the tribes that want to create this change. Not everyone's going to be awake to it.
Right.
But by more of us coming together, because I don't know about you, Doc, but when I get pressed, that gets the opposite reaction. Like
Me too.
When people come at me, especially if I'm doing something and they tell me I shouldn't do it, that just tells me I should.
Right.
And I will. So for me, this overall situation we're in. We're seeing financial ruin, government failure on every level, liberties, sovereignty being just stripped away under the guise of whatever. This is on us to rebuild. This is not the government. This is on us. So we need to create new systems, but we go full circle back. Start your process of, I always say this, listen, when your health fails, you're on the couch, you're done. You're hurting. So if you invest in yourself right now, by hey, go do the broccoli sprouts right now. If you don't have a lot of money, go do that. Start with, drink more water. Start gaining that, because the investment you're going to make into your health is going to give you dividends of perspective, energy, clarity, and keep you healthier because of that resiliency and that, again, that diversification that you're now applying into your life in a more better way. So we need strong, healthy, powerful people together, and then let's create new systems that we touched on a little here today that we all know need to be changed, and it is on us as a people.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other thing too is that we have become too egocentric as humans, as a species. Yeah. We view ourselves as the super predator. We think that we're dominant. We're not. I can tell you right now, like, if something really bad rocked this planet, we would go down as a species. We would no longer exist. And I can tell you that many of these microbes, I'm 100% sure they'd still be around. All right. So it happened to the dinosaurs. They once dominated this planet. It could happen to us. And what we need to do, from my perspective, is we need to recognize and accept the intelligence of nature. We are not like myself. I am not as smart as Mother Nature. There is an intelligence to nature that has been derived from 4 billion years of experience. I am 40 years old. I may think that I know a thing or two. I may have been around the block doing a couple colonoscopies here and there, but there is only so much that I know as a 40-year-old man. And I just think that, like, being completely serious, at the end of the day, we need to respect the intelligence in nature, and we need to get back to that and get out of the way. Stop trying to overthink it, set it up, and let nature work its magic for us.
Amen, dude. Amen.
Mic drop. I'm out. Peace, guys. Thanks, Darren. See you, man.
That was it. And the observation of nature, the reverence of nature, the not thinking a pill or a thing or whatever that is gonna, there's so many consequences when you go against nature and think you're dominant over it. So anyway, I can't do better than what you just summarized. I thoroughly, I love getting to know you in this way, to see the levels and the layers of where you're coming from, and as a trained medical doctor, to kind of get more of you to continue to go, oh, it's nature, and to go back to the principles of real health is just like, I applaud it. I applaud you. I'm just thoroughly stoked to get to know you even more from these types of conversations. Let's keep it up.
Yeah, man.
And I'm grateful for the time and your contribution. And for everyone listening, go also check out the podcast that we just did and enjoy that, and get his book. And we'll put that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fiber Fueled.
And yeah, it's if you want to think about focusing on fiber over protein, that's a good. It sets the context of how important the shift of how we look at health is. So, dude, thank you for your time. I'm grateful for you, and we'll do this again for sure.
My brother, thank you so much. Thank you for making time for me. I'm glad that you're back home. We got some work to do. I look forward to working with you for the years to come, my friend.
Sounds good, man.
All
Cheers,
right.
brother.
Take care.
Cheers.